How awesome is this first show going to be? Just think about it. If you're listening right now, you survived 2020. I know more than few of us are wondering if it was ever going to end. Plus, anyone born going forward will not ever be able to say that or understand what we all overcame. So give yourselves a round of applause and welcome to ESPN Northwest Florida's newest radio show, Business Between the Lines. I'm your hostess, Christy Kirkland with Answer Marketing, a business acceleration firm here in Bay County. And today I also have with me Jason Roach, owner of Riplify Media, a company that produces a variety of video-style stories to help you get your message out in the best light. A little background. I'm a business owner, mother, artist, wife, coach, grandmother, author, mentor, explorer, teacher, and more. It is my hope that my experiences and those of my guests will benefit our listeners, and that this new radio show, Business Between the Lines, will be of value to the local business community and our area's budding entrepreneurs. It will be packed with weekly value in the form of tips to help you on your journey, continuing educational tidbits, community spotlights with either a local business professional or a small business, and whatever else we can squeeze in. So stay tuned. We will be right back with your first power tip of the year, overcoming fear. And welcome back, and thank you, Los Rancheros on 23rd Street, for your support. You are greatly appreciated. You are all listening to ESPN Northwest Florida's 104.3's newest radio show, Business Between the Lines. I'm here with owner of Riplify Media, Jason Roach. Jason, thank you for hanging out with us today.
Christy, I'm so excited. We've had way too many times, sitting down having lunch and talking about business and talking about life, and what's supposed to be like a 30-minute, sort of thing turns into like a 3.5-minute thing, 3.5-hour thing. So I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome. We are officially out of 2020, so let's all agree to never mention 2020 again.
Go!
And we are headed out of the first month of 2021. So I'm going to share with you a dynamic mindset technique that will aid you in overcoming moments of panic and fear, turning the feelings into a manageable reaction, maybe even a pleasurable challenge. I want to ask you, Jason, and our listeners right now, have you ever had a moment of fear or uncontrollable butterflies?
Oh, yeah. So growing up, for those of you who don't know me, I was always homeschooled, growing up. So I didn't really have any public speaking opportunities, never had to stand in front of my class and do a presentation. It was class of one, talk to my mom. I'm pretty comfortable in front of my mom, but she did have me do presentations in front of her and my dad before, so that was fun. So I was around 8, 9, 10 years old, something like that, and I had this presentation that I had to do for a homeschooling group we were a part of. Everybody had to identify a single, past president, and we had to memorize their biography. It was a paragraph or two, and we had to go up on stage dressed as that president and just share the document. So mine was on George Washington. I'm like, hello, my name is George Washington, and go through the thing. So I could do it in front of my mom and dad. I went through it at practice. I knew all the words, so that wasn't the issue. It wasn't a memorization problem. It was then the moment of getting up on stage. And I remember on the stage, they had this dry ice thing. So you walk through the dry ice, and I was terrified. I couldn't see the people. I completely chickened out. And I ran back to my mom when it was I was almost about to go up. And my mom offered me $50 if I would just go up and do it. And I was 8, 9, 10-year-old, $50, that's a lot of dough, Yeah, I was like, man, I can buy a lot of video games with this. This would be great. But I was like, no, $50 will not buy me to do this. This is not in the cards. I'm backing out. And I found out after the fact, the lady was actually kind of peeved at my mom for letting me back out, And she was like, hey, listen, if my kid doesn't want to do it, doesn't want to do it. But yeah, that was probably the first time that I had really uncontrollable, cannot do this sort of level of fear.
Right. Okay, so I want you guys to all think about this. When we were first brought into this world as babies, we did not know fear. Some of us tried to run before we could walk, like many of my kids who busted out the fronts of their mouths, because we didn't have fear until we fell and got hurt. And when we were little, we were taught fear by our parents and by those around us. It was fear to protect us. Our parents taught us fear of fire, heights, hot ovens, crossing the road without looking, and more, right? So therefore, we can all agree in its simplest form, fear is actually a learned behavior. So knowing that, you now have the power to overcome it. Sounds easy, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. It's like if you can learn it, then surely you can unlearn it, right?
Right? So it is actually, but it takes positive reinforcement, and you have to keep at it until you retrain yourself, till you break those old habits. So let's take a look at a common example. You kind of brought it up there with your situation, and that's public speaking. But we also had your brother, Logan, speak to our A-team group a while back, and he shared with us his fear of public speaking, but also his desire to conquer it. And I didn't know that when I first invited him to come and chat with us.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Like, so whenever I first had, came to him with the opportunity of like, hey, because I was the guest speaker coordinator at the time for the A team, so it was my responsibility to find people in the community and have them come and share and stuff. So I went up to him and I was like, hey, Logan, there's this opportunity, to come in and speak for 15 minutes. It can be really on any topic that you want it to, but something that's going to offer value to people. Because I know with him, his dream in the future is to be a public speaker and to be an author and like really kind of grow in that area. That's something he's really interested in. But at the time, he had not spoken publicly to anybody. So at first he was like, "Oh, that sounds cool, but maybe I can do it later. I want to be a little more prepared, know what I want to talk about and stuff." And they called me the next morning. He was like, "Jason, if you ever hear me back out of something like that again, I want you to slap me across my face. Just go ahead and so you sign me up. I want to do it. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm going to go ahead and just lock me in for a yes."
Right.
And then, sure enough, he came up and he did it.
Yeah. And one of the great things I love about our A team probably helped him with that moment. And it's how we always, no matter who is getting up there, no matter what they say, front end, back end, we start with an ovation and we end with an ovation.
Mm-hmm.
Public speaking is a fear for many, and it is at least for most an unpleasant feeling to survive. What do people fear the most when it comes to public speaking? If you're wondering, it's not standing naked or picturing the audience naked. We can all agree that this is at most a funny meme that most people post to convey their feelings. But there is a real fear of failing, of saying something stupid, or
that's mine right there.
Yeah, or worse, forgetting what you wanted to say and standing in front of a group of people in painful silence. Mm-hmm. None of us want to be ridiculed. None of us want to make these big, great blunders. And public speaking, it just kind of is associated around that. Mm-hmm. So now what if instead of any of those fearful things that you think about that's going to happen, you get up in front of an audience and you receive, like our A-team group gives everybody, congratulatory shouts and a round of applause, and just has that, ooh,
it's like that feeling excitement of walking into a room of people and not getting noticed. No one notices you walk in, or you walk in and it's like, "Oh, hey, Christy! Oh my gosh, so glad you're here." You're like full of energy and you're ready to go.
What if the next time you do that, okay, so you had those round of claps and everything, and then the next time you walk up on the stage and people actually stand up and they start clapping and you get that standing ovation even before you've done something.
Oh, yeah. That makes you want to, that kills the fear, makes you want to dance, makes you excited, and you're like, okay, let's go.
Now what if after people went out of their way to shake your hands and let you know how much they enjoyed your presentation? Would your previous learned behavior of fear and trepidation start to lessen, and might you not start to look forward to speaking a little bit more each time for that euphoric feeling?
Oh, yeah.
This is called positive reinforcement. It's how we begin to overcome fear. You take something you're afraid of, and you find a way to enact positive reinforcements, like an introvert's fear of starting conversations with strangers.
Oh, yeah.
Prior to being in the conversation situation, like a networking event, you could research top interesting conversation starters and then use a few of those conversation starters whenever there's a lull, so you never have that awkward feeling that introverts dread. Along with those conversation starters, there are two very important things to remember to say. And if you remember these, you will hardly ever have to say another word. And again, this is another great thing for introverts. And the first is, "That's fascinating. Please tell me more."
Ooh.
My other favorite one is, "So tell me about yourself." I mean, when people say that to somebody else, when you let others talk about themselves unchecked and ask them to tell you more, it's going to leave them, again, with that positive euphoric feeling, and they're just going to keep talking. You don't have to worry about it. I could give hundreds of examples of how people have overcome fear by replacing their imagined fearful outcomes with positive outcomes, or at the very least, placed rewards at the end of that dreaded action.
Oh, yeah.
So that they start looking forward to the task instead of dreading them.
Something my brother shared whenever he came up and speaking, like talking on this subject of like trying to, have your fear and trying to get past it. Something that he shared, and I think he's actually putting in his book as well. It was a time with this girl that he saw on a beach that he thought was really, really pretty, and he really wanted to talk to her, but he's always had like a crippling fear of talking to girls, like every dude out there is listening to this, So he did like the stupidest thing that ended up with him, having a 2-year-long relationship that gave him a lot of value, and he had a football, and he picked it up and he threw it at her just to try to get her attention. And sure enough, it worked, because somebody throws a football at you, you turn around. But then the hilarious thing was, after the fact, turns out like she had, well, not hilarious, it's bad. She had lupus, and it ended up giving her this really bad bruise, which was a great way to start a relationship.
Another conversation.
Oh my gosh. So that was one way. But now, he's stepping out, and he's, his fear of public speaking starting to dwindle now that he's done it a lot, and he's kind of began to conquer that fear.
I love it. So we teach positive reinforcement in my company and the groups I manage after everything we do, and it's because I long ago realized that people have the ability to be great when they're encouraged. So I invite you today to be the positive influence in the lives of those around you. Share a word of encouragement and clap with kindness. When we come back, we will have with us Jeremy Harrison with Royal Exteriors, my boy. I adore him and his family and his company, and I can't wait to share all of his value with all of our listeners.
ESPN Northwest Florida's newest show, Business Between the Lines. If you're interested in sponsoring the show, please reach out to G-Man Greg Calvert at 540-295-4319. Again, that's G-Man at 540-295-4319.
And welcome back to Business Between the Lines, ESPN's newest show designed for supporting our local business community. And a quick thank you to the folks at Island Air for your support, and for Slim Chickens. A quick round of introductions. I am Christy Kirkland, owner of Answer Marketing, a business acceleration firm. And I'm here with Jason Roach with Riplify Media. And we are joined in the studio with Jeremy Harrison, CEO of Royal Exteriors. I am very glad you are our first local spotlight. I know we have over the past year talked a lot about 2020, and even in our area 2019, coming out of Hurricane Michael, and the changes our companies and us have as individuals have had to deal with. I would really love it if you would introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your company, and maybe something that you've had to deal with and ways that you've overcome.
I'm Jeremy Harrison with Royal Exteriors. We've had a lot of obstacles. First, we started with Hurricane Michael. We went through all the shortages and, the difficulties as a community there, and we pulled together very well, I think, through it. And, ultimately we're coming out on top, while some folks, myself included, are still dealing with battling their insurances, and then we're getting through that. And then you step into 2020, we all thought we had good vision on that and thought it was going to be a great year.
Right.
And we kind of stepped into that and got blindsided with COVID. There's a lot of stuff that's come up. I mean, it's right and left. And the further we get into it, the more we see material shortages, and people are starting to get stressed out. We've some of us have been locked in the house and away from, haven't got to see our family, haven't got to partake in Christmas 100% like we normally do, Thanksgiving, just everything. And there's so many different ways we've gotten creative with how to, one, keep from going insane, and two, to still have a thriving business. A lot of what we try to do, last year we ran a promotion in May, I believe it was, and that did great. Everybody was able to, there was a real savings. So people were actually able to take that money and put it towards something that they needed, something else they needed to fix.
Yeah, that's definitely something I've always loved about your guys' company and stuff. Speaking with you and Erica, a lot of times when you guys find discounts out there in the market and ways that you can save money for your company, you don't just take that on independently.
Right.
You pass that savings on to your customers and your clients, which really has helped out our community a lot.
Yeah, and it's, we believe in, we're a service for the people. We're not a service for us. We're fine. We're fine in life. We don't need the extras. We're not real flashy people. So we believe in paying it forward 100% of the time, always kicking back to the community. And even right now, we're getting ready to run a promotion for February and March. We're calling it For the Love of Madness, to tie in
awesome.
Valentine's Day and also your March Madness. And so we can run it for the 2 months, and we're doing a 7% off special for both months off your entire project of real savings.
Huge
again.
savings.
Yeah. So whenever you're talking about full house windows, 7% off the labor and materials with no addition, no hidden.
Yeah.
Not marking it up before you run the special.
Right. Yeah, like a real savings. That's what I was. Part of what I wanted to market was real savings with real people and real locals.
Oh, I like that.
And they were
That's
like,
cool.
well, we'll just do real savings with real locals. And
Jason and I might spread that word for
Little
you.
bit.
Yeah, we are going to be making flyers and passing them out around town and kind of getting the word out, because it's important that, one, it helps us, and it also helps us help our community, and getting everybody's houses back. And then they're able to take that extra money and maybe take a trip whenever we get through winter. Everybody could probably use a weekend vacation, or even a week-long one, depending on how you get down, In a way, we're able to do that and still thrive as a business. Is we're looking for, right now I'm currently in contact with all of the larger distributors to figure out where we can buy in bulk, to where I can save, $50 here, $75 here. And whenever you do that multiple times, it adds up on every single piece that goes into everything. So we're actually buying in bulk to be able to pay it forward, to be able to help everybody kind of bring it all together.
Right. So like
pretty
prior to Hurricane Michael, and then also our latest little situation that we find ourselves still dealing with, some of maybe your materials or some of the ways that you did business, I'm sure have changed.
Oh, yeah.
How have you, kind of addressed that or overcame that, or?
So right now we're running in, so we got hit with COVID. Hurricane Michael, we ran into a distributor getting us the products quick enough. We were running through products so fast, it wasn't necessarily a shortage of products as much as it was a shortage of just getting them to Bay County.
Right.
Because there was just a mass influx. And so then we hit COVID. Well, then everybody's got a social distance in the factories. Somebody gets COVID in the factory, they have to shut the whole thing down, contaminate. They have to shut down a few times a day. Our window suppliers specifically do, to sanitize.
Right.
Somebody gets COVID in there, they have to shut the whole thing down, quarantine everybody. Everybody's got to get tested. It's a process, to go through to make sure that the health of the people is still there.
Right.
And that nobody is being put in jeopardy. So then we ran into that, right? So that slowed everything down, pushed us from a 3 to 4 week lead time to 8 to 10. And then Hurricane Sally came through and hit
and the punches keep
bang,
rolling.
bang.
Well, they
roll
hit,
with them, baby.
What was it, like 3 hurricanes hit Louisiana right there? So the what was it, Lake Charles? No, it wasn't Sally. Sally was the one that flooded the factory, because whatever one hit Lake Charles came through and destroyed our vinyl resin factory down there.
Oh.
So then you end the supply chain.
Yeah.
And so now there's only a couple other in the United States, and then you have a shortage of materials coming in because we're trying to keep everything within our country,
Right.
And we, I think we should. And so you do that, and then the other 2 hurricanes came along after the windstorm came through, and Lake Charles, and just kind of downed it. And so then we went from 8 to 10 week to now we're at, I think it's 16 to 19 weeks for windows.
Wow.
And then we got a thing for our vinyl siding that is, what was it? they discontinued a bunch of products, and then just the other day they told us that we're at a 12-week lead time. So on anything that's ordered, if I order today, 12 weeks from now, if it's a special order, I get my product if they still have it available. So part of what we're hoping to do with the 7% discount is we don't have a lag time on vinyl or on fiber cement. And we sell Allura, which is an extremely good product. But so what we're trying to do is get those fiber numbers, our Allura products, down to the vinyl pricing, close to it with paint, so we can have
another viable option.
yeah, so we can have another option that we're not having lag times on.
So just roll with it and find new solutions and keep researching and
stick and move. Don't give up. Don't become defeated. No, there's always an option. It's whether how long you search for it. So I think everything's going to go good. I think we're going to come out on top. We have no choice.
A lot
but
of punches to roll with.
Yeah. Just stick and move. You got to stay in the fight. So
I appreciate that. And seriously, thank you for sharing today. And
thanks for having me.
Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to? Maybe somebody traveling?
You know what? Actually, I did forget that we've done the video business cards and a couple other things with Riplify Media that have
I've heard of those guys.
They've done some great things for us, and that's just another way to get the community to know us, feel comfortable with us. Mm-hmm. We're local. We're not in and out. We're here. We're here to stay. So. Awesome. I would like to give a shout out to Riplify Media for helping us up.
The video only works if the company's awesome.
Thank you.
There you go. All right. So thank you to all our listeners, Jeremy with Royal Exteriors for sharing with us, Jason with Riplify Media for hanging out with us, and of course a big thank you to our show sponsors, Island Air, Slim Chickens, and Los Rancheros. It is my fondest hope that this show will grow into a great resource for our community, and the value we share will help each and every one of you be the very best that you can be. Before we close today, I want to share with you one last thought. There is always a lot of pressure at the end of the year and the beginning of another one to make changes, be more, do greater things, and that is all wonderful if it is your desire and not the desire of those that are around you. I want each of you to be the best that you can be, and yes, it is a competition, but only with yourself and who you were yesterday. So I will be back next week with more tips and spotlights. In the meantime, cut yourself some slack. Choose what's right for you in 2021 and be your best self. See you all soon on Business Between the Lines.